The children of Destiny Church are often seen, but their stories are rarely heard.
I myself identify as takatāpui. I've always felt protected by my community. And I'm not ashamed to say that's my community now as an adult.
For abuse survivor Lynia Morseu-Tol, the path to self-acceptance began 16 years ago when she walked away from Destiny Church, leaving behind everything she'd ever known.
I don't see it as a church, I do see it as a cult.
Now she's breaking the silence, calling out Destiny Church and its leaders, who she believes failed to protect her.
I think people should know what they're following, who they're following, especially when they're pointing their fingers, saying things like, protect the children. What about me? You know, was I not a child in your church? Did I not deserve to be protected?
Apostle Brian Tamaki.
We go in search of answers to what Lynia says.
Would you like to let me know if they would like to respond to our questions?
Harassing.
Are you the media person?
It's harassing.
Okay, sweet.
Mass immigration with anti-Christian sentiments.
This is Lynia's story. She is a former Destiny Church member. She's married with a child and identifies as takatāpui koe. She was just 7 when her mother and stepfather joined the church in the early 2000s.
I'm the only one of my mum and dad. Then she had a couple of children to her husband. So in the home that I was in, there was myself, my little sister and my little brother, and then mum and her husband. I was quite young when we started a Destiny Church. It was multiple church services a week. It was definitely my mother that had the drive to go to Destiny Church.
This country is filled with people who are broken, hurt, wounded. You better not to attack what wants to save you, love you, and get you through. Because that's what I want to do with your life, is save you, help you, heal you, and get you to know the great life, to live the life, the only life.
When you go to that church, everyone that enters it inherently becomes his spiritual child, and that's what he preaches about a lot, especially those that come from broken families, which majority of us do. There's a big bulk of us that didn't have an active father in our lives, adults and children alike. So that's the dynamic that's kind of placed down, is you can find what you don't have in me, and I will be your spiritual father, which means you can come to me for guidance. You can come to me for nurturing or help of, any sort. And that's how we all saw him. That's how I saw him. That's why I, had so much love and respect for him. Brian and Hannah actually bought my mother a salon and started her a business up, and my mother ended up becoming their personal hairdressers. So all those platinum blonde looks that Hannah sported in the early 2000s was at the hands of my mum.
As a child, Lynia was present at one of the church's most high-profile protests against same-sex relationships.
So with the Enough is Enough march, yeah, I attended that. I can't remember much of it. I can only remember flashes of how many people were there, the black and red, seeing people crying on the sides of the roads and being really confused.
I'm going to come and look at each and every one of you. I don't mind at all. Your hatred is totally intolerable. How dare you use the cloak of Christianity when you are imparting to your children prejudice, discrimination toward people like me.
Do you remember the politician, Georgina Bayer, coming out and speaking to the Destiny Church crowd?
Back then, no, it was more just flashes of yelling and screaming and signs and people from the sidewalks with confused looks on their faces, crying and saying, what have we done to you?
And imagine a few years ago that we would have to stand on government's doorsteps en masse like this to uphold and to protect the institution of marriage and the future of our children and our grandchildren.
It was a traumatic time for me, so I never wanted to look back and understand it on a deeper level until I came into that season of my life, and I did search it up and I did see her kōrero to the people, and I did cry my eyes out. I did.
Why do you hate people like us?
Because it resonates with me today.
Be real Christians.
You know, as a kid, when you know that you don't just like men, it was an identity crisis and a half, because on one side you're fighting for your eternity, and on the other side you're fighting against your own.
We are standing here today saying enough is enough.
There were two things that were seen as like instantaneous tickets to hell. Number one, it was the taking of your own life, because your life is not yours to take. And it was being gay. You know, those were the two things, because in the Bible it says it's an abomination. So yeah, it very counteractive when you're trying to find your identity and accept yourself, find the courage to tell your parents, but also you're attending enough is enough protests and literally yelling at your people for being outright with something that you've struggled with.
The cornerstone of any nation is families. And the cornerstone of any family is marriage.
Destiny also organised protests against the 2007 anti-smacking legislation, another issue that was close to home for Lynia.
This is an intrusion into the rights of parents. That's what it is, the state's intrusion into the rights of parents.
I was someone that was abused at the home quite often, quite regularly. There was never a week where I wasn't hit. And as I got older, the abuse from my stepfather got worse. With the physical abuse, he would hit me with everything that he could hit me with. I remember one day I came home from school and he had a stick, a wooden pole that was about 1 metre long, and he had painted it white. And when I walked in, he pointed to the table and there was an open Bible there. And he told me to bring the Bible to him and read the verse that was highlighted. And the verse said, thou shalt obey their parents, mother and father. And he got a pen and he started to carve the Bible verse into it, into the pole. He said, every time you're disciplined, you have to read that, so you know exactly why it's happening. And my siblings used to hide that pole so I wouldn't get in trouble. But it just made it worse.
That I would not face harshness and sexual abuse, violence, rejection, put down.
When I got or reached puberty, he started to make uncomfortable moves around me. From a very young age, he would wear boxers, nothing in the house except boxers that had hardly any crotch. And he would sit on the couch with his leg up and his whole penis would hang out in front of me. So I knew what a male penis looked like from a very young age. He would do things like smell dirty laundry in front of me from my mum and me, and leave dirty condoms or used condoms tied up outside my door, watch pornography in my bedroom. And I would never be able to ask for help because he would tell me that because I'm the only kid that didn't belong to him and mum, that I would get taken because I'm not a part of that family. I'm the one that doesn't belong. He
also attempted to rape me at 14, and my mum just so happened to get home just on time. After that, when my mum walked in, he told her that he wanted to get baptised again. And that night my mum was at the Tāmaki's house playing Monopoly.
Lynia says she confided in her mother and a church pastor about the alleged assault, but says police were never informed as she never received counselling.
I honestly don't remember any support offered to me. I remember moving to my auntie's house and I remember not being there for very long, and then basically mum telling me that she's been counselled and she has to forgive because that's what a wife does, and that we had to go back. And she had said, now, honey, this is biblical. I have to forgive him for what he done to you. I have to go back and you can choose to come with me or you can go and live with your dad. And I don't think I ever felt more insignificant than I didn't understand how you could let someone touch you that tried doing that to your baby. So I obviously chose to move with my dad, and it didn't last very long because Destiny was everything to me. I think from then I just kind of questioned my worth, you know, if mum won't fight for me, why would anyone else?
Living back home again with her mother and stepfather, at age 16, Lynia says she was violently assaulted.
So at Destiny Church they would have events for singles, and it was for everyone that had done the abstinence stand so that they could meet other peers their age. And there was a singles event on that didn't go through, and it ended up becoming an open event for youth. And my mum took my sister and I slept at my auntie's house that night. And when we went back home the next morning, my stepfather was visibly riled. He was upset. My mum was on the phone and I had asked her if I could use her GHD, and he just looked at me and he said, "Don't you effing touch that straightener." And it's the first time I think I actually had the bravery to say to him, "You're not my dad. You know, mum said I can use it. Don't get angry because we went to a youth event. You know, it wasn't a singles event." I had turned around to pick up the straightener, and when I went to walk down the hallway, I went to look at him, and he had just biffed a big paddle brush at my head. And he was bounding towards me when I looked up, and he had picked me up and thrown me against like a metal fireplace that we had in our home and dragged me down the hallway. And my mum was yelling at me from the end of the hallway, and I'd never heard my mum scream at me before, but she yelled at me. She was telling me to run. My auntie had lived just by the basin, which was not far from the church. And I went there and asked for them to call the police in a panic. And they did, and I had to take photos with the police and eventually go to court and everything, so it was a lot.
Did you have support from the leadership of the church?
From Hannah Tāmaki, and that's the only person I ever remember being there. I really thought that she was there to hold my hand and protect me because she believed me. I don't think that was the case.
I feel she was there to protect herself and to protect the church.
Father, we thank you in the name of Jesus.
Lynia felt this way because she believed the church was protecting its reputation and didn't want to be associated with abuse.
In regards to the court case, I never got the chance to talk about the sexual abuse or anything else in the background that happened, other than what put me in the police station that time around, which was physical assault.
We tried to put what Lynia says to the people involved. Mata made several attempts to contact her mother and stepfather, but our letters and messages went unanswered. And no one came to the door when we visited their home. We also attempted to speak with Brian and Hannah Tāmaki. Our letters went unanswered, so we reached out to Mr. Tāmaki's executive assistant, who replied, "Due to their high profile, Mr. and Mrs. Tāmaki and Destiny Church are regularly subjected to public attacks, false claims, and at times serious threats and blackmail attempts from individuals. As a result, we do not engage with individuals or media inquiries connected to such situations, and we view this matter in the same light. Any further correspondence on this matter can be directed to our legal representative. We will not hesitate to take legal action should any defamatory, misleading, or malicious content be published under the guise of journalism." We then emailed their legal representative, but received no reply, so we kept trying. We've come to Brisbane, Australia, because we've learned that Destiny Church is holding a rally here at Queen's Garden, so we thought we'd come along and put our questions to Mr. and Mrs. Tāmaki.
How you doing out there? You all good? Look, it's just going to get better and better as we...
Destiny Church knows we're here.
Wonderful event.
So if they've got to come out and walk here, you can't stand there. You just got to walk over there.
I can be anywhere I want. I'm the media. So.
And they aren't happy about it.
So we were scheduled to start 1 minute ago. Yep. But I said to Amy, until these guys are pushed down, we're not starting. Yeah, so we don't have to... Yeah, I understand that. Move along.
Sorry, there's plenty of room for them to walk up on stage, facing where everyone's standing now.
Yeah, like I said, we're at the pot boil. We're not in a hurry to start.
Yeah, no worries.
So,
Cool.
But they can't hold off for long. Eventually, the Tāmakis enter backstage through a side entrance. Their support crew moving to block our view, shielding both Mr. Tāmaki and Mrs. Tāmaki, who'd recently announced her candidacy for the Tāmaki Makaurau electorate.
Harassing. Are you the media person? It's harassing. Okay.
Mr. Tāmaki's executive assistant, Jenny Marshall, challenges us for being here.
Just because we did what you asked us to do, but we've had no response, so... Well, that's okay, that's fine, but it's been a couple of weeks, so we just weren't sure. So we thought that it was just been ignored, so that's why we're just doing everything we can to offer every opportunity to respond. Well, we did everything you asked us to do. Yep.
Then this will be bigger than World War III.
Just wait for him to respond.
Yeah. This is a Christian country. You getting me now? So if I was another religion, I'd say...
But we believe we've waited long enough. So as the rally comes to a close, we try one last time.
Mr. Tāmaki, would you like to respond to Lynia's story? Will you respond to Lynia's story?
We eventually receive an email from Mr. and Mrs. Tāmaki's legal representative, acknowledging our earlier messages and explaining that it ended up in a spam folder. A couple of weeks later, we received this response. These allegations are outrageous and untrue. Their source, whoever that may be, is unreliable and clearly motivated to cause unjustified harm. Both Hannah and Brian work very hard to address and prevent sexual and violent assaults in the community, and they are effective at this. If they receive a complaint of sexual or physical assault, they both support the victim to make a complaint to police. They remain supportive as much as that is desired by the victim through the process and after. They also try to assist victims with professional support, which they also encourage to be able to move forward in their lives. They do not and have not encouraged any victim to stay with or move back with an offender. That said, they cannot prevent a victim returning to the offender or allowing the offender back into their lives, despite counselling them against it. The reality is that many victims do return to the offender in a family relationship context, and you know this. There are many reasons for this, including financial ones. It is simply mischievous for you to suggest otherwise or assert blame on Brian or Hannah. Otherwise, they will not comment on any specific case or individual. Hannah and Brian both report being tired of being the subject of continued unmeritorious media interest and are prepared to take any harmful reporting further, and they will do so. While the Tāmakis chose not to speak to us, Lynia feels she can't stay silent. Although now happily married to a man, she says the church's campaign against Ngāti Uenuku, the rainbow community, has compelled her to speak out about her experiences inside Destiny.
As I said at the beginning, I myself identify as takatapui, and a lot of people are confused by that because obviously I'm married, but encapsulates more than just being, gay or queer or anything like that.
It was something that I felt needed to come out because now people are getting hurt with the library situation and the physical abuse that's happening at protests that are supposed to be about acknowledgement of self and identity. You so blatantly point your finger at my people and say that we're hurting, saying that trans, gay, lesbian, whatever it might be, are hurting the children, but that's not my experience. My experience was being hurt under your roof. And I think people deserve to know that because in their heads they're protecting the kids. But what about your kids? What if they experience? What are they going through?
We dedicate our lives to him, to Hannah, to the church, to God. If you're going to dedicate your life to someone or to a cause or an organisation or a church, I feel, especially if you're financially giving, because this is a predominantly Polynesian Māori-based church, and a lot of the families within it struggle, but still give. I believe that people should know what they're giving to, especially when they're pointing their fingers, saying things like protect the children. What about me? Was I not a child in your church? Did I not deserve to be protected?
Since we first met Lynia, she's accessed her file and spoken with police, and we've obtained her court records from when she was physically assaulted by her stepfather.
Honestly, if you look at the piece of paper, it doesn't really look like any accurate information was gathered. And I felt really let down because it didn't feel like anyone cared enough to dig deeper. A child of abuse isn't going to come out about the abuse that they're going through when the same, parental figures are around speaking on their behalf. So it really showed me what a young Māori woman is worth in the justice system. No one helped me. I got a protection order put in place that has been breached multiple times, and my abuser got a slap on the hand. So I didn't feel looked after. I felt like I was failed by not only my family and the church that we were in, but also by the justice system.
And if you were wondering if your flag was coming out, here it is.
While Lynia begins her campaign for justice, Destiny Church continues to campaign for its values.
I think that it's a joke to say that you stand for faith and family when you tore mine apart. I don't think that you should go around protesting and projecting hate speech onto people that could gladly hold up all parts of who they are openly and celebrate that.
It's been 16 years since Lynia left the church and took back control of her life. She lost friends and whānau along the way, but her connection to Te Ao Māori keeps her strong. And she has a message for Takatapui church youth grappling with their identity.
There's a huge element of fear there. And it's not necessarily fear of Brian and Hannah. It's fear of losing everyone that you've connected with within that church. And that includes family, friends. So my advice, if you're ever thinking of, being outright and honest, would be to allow yourself to move through that fear and everything that comes after it, because there's anger, there's frustration, there's anxiety, and then let yourself do it anyways, because nothing will free you more than the truth.
Mātaratara hara wene wene, ko hine takurua koe. Arohi rohi koroi rangi, ko hine ramati koe. Tohia ki te wai tapu, rau ngā he, ko hine rau whārangi koe. Ngā wai whakaata, whakamaua te wai ora, ko hine kauarahi a koe. Wairua uru tapu ngā kauhara kore, ko hine tītama koe. Mārohi rohi, puku tohe tohe, ko hine nui te po koe. Me aro ki te ha, o hine